What's going on, party people? Welcome to another episode of Culture 316. I am one of your hosts, Jordan Nahisi.
And your favorite menace, Edge's throat goat, Mo. What is up, people?
I hope that you guys had a great week. Thank you guys so much for tuning and tapping in last week. It was an eventful show. Keep liking, commenting, subscribing from wherever you are. Rate the show if you're listening to this via Apple or
And keep
Spotify.
making memes of my face.
From the theory last week, the best one was the Pikachu meme. So
Yeah.
keep rating and subscribing, but also keep making memes of Mo's face, because that is the content that we really need. But it's a lot going on right now, and so we're not going to waste any time, because this morning Pro Wrestling Illustrated revealed their annual top 500 wrestlers. We're not going to go through the full list, for obvious reasons. But we are going to reveal the top 10, and that top 10 includes Jonathan Gresham, Big E, Hijo del Vikingo. I don't know if I pronounce the name, my bad. Bryan Danielson, Cody Rhodes, Bobby Lashley, cracking in the top 5. Hangman Adam Page, CM Punk, Kazuchika Okada, and Roman Reigns. I wanted to know your impressions on this list. How did you feel about this list?
I mean, I don't know number 8 and number 10. I should know number 10, but I don't know much about number 10. But honestly, I can't really argue with this list. I mean, Roman Reigns has been at the top of his game. He's been involved in every single important storyline on WWE. I can't complain with him being number 1 on this list. Okada, I'm not mad necessarily because I mean, didn't he just win? He did just win a tournament for like the billionth time, for the 4th time.
G1, I think it was.
Um, yes,
Maybe. I'm not
yes.
sure.
That's New Japan's baby. I can't really be shocked of who else would have won that spot if it wasn't Okada. But 3 and 4 is gonna cause some friction.
Problems.
They did this on purpose. You can't tell me
Absolutely.
otherwise. They put this shit on purpose. If we thought the beef died down, this is definitely gonna be brought up.
Beef is not dead.
If they ever have them back in the storyline, or if they ever have their privileges on Twitter to argue with each other again, because I know they're underneath an investigation, this will definitely be brought up.
Uh-huh.
This
Absolutely.
is definitely gonna get brought up. But what makes me most proud is definitely 5 and 6, even 7, but 5 and 6 mainly popped the hell out of me because I feel like Bobby Lashley for like the longest just was not utilized. I was complaining the most in 2018 or 2019 with the way Vince was using him. And we all knew what Bobby Lashley is capable of. So I love the fact that finally in 2022 and in 2021, he definitely has came full circle with being showcased as the athlete that we know he should be deserved and to be presented as. Like, we definitely look at Bobby Lashley as like a very just like a force that we definitely should take seriously in wrestling. But number 6 really excites the fuck out of me because
Yeah.
Cody Rhodes has only been here since March, maybe late March or something like that.
Yeah.
And he's been injured. We haven't seen this man in about 2-3 months, and he literally made top 500. That's fucking insane. But it goes to show you how impactful he really was with his presence. Like, he was definitely that needle mover that we needed in WWE. And I mean, shit, it shows. I mean, like, everyone's still talking about that amazing match he had with Seth Rollins, despite the fact he literally had a chest injury that was spreading throughout the match. Like, that man got heart. He deserves to be on this list. I cannot complain.
Absolutely.
I really cannot complain. Yeah. What about you? What do you think?
For starters, so I don't know about number 8. I have never heard of him, but I'm gonna do my research now. Jonathan Gresham, I was very surprised that he cracked top 10. But at the same time, I'm not surprised that he cracked top 10. I'm surprised that he cracked top 10 because he's currently not signed to a company. However, this man is a legit phenomenal wrestler. Won the Ring of Honor. I think he was the last Ring of Honor world champion before it folded and, became its new iteration under Tony Khan in AEW. He had done some work in Impact and defended the title there a couple times. He worked in Progress. So Jonathan Gresham is definitely a phenomenal wrestler. He kind of reminds me of like a younger more clean cut Daniel Bryan when he was in Ring of Honor. So he definitely, I'm surprised that he made top 10, but at the same time, if we're just judging based off of talent, he's definitely top 10. Um, definitely surprised. I'm definitely surprised that Cody made the top 10 as well, just because of his injury. I believe that his impact, though, like you said, uh, makes him belong in the top 10, top 7, because his body of work, even since joining WWE, has been top of the line. His rivalry with Seth kind of set Seth on his trajectory to where he is, and kind of set the tone for Cody to come back in a very heroic fashion. So there's that. Bobby being top 5, well overdue. Um, I think that even before Hunter made the decision to kind of add prestige back to the US title, I think that the way that Bobby was carrying it added prestige to the US title, because he's a legit world heavyweight championship caliber athlete and caliber talent. So I think that this is well deserved for Bobby. That Hangman CM Punk 3 and 4 is hilarious. I don't think it's by accident either. Um, and once again,
Petty.
Kazuchika, because yeah, it like that was meant for Static, because Punk having one up on Hangman at this point is just trolling. But what I will say is I think that Okada being at number 2, considering that if you look at the list, he's the only New Japan guy in the top 10. Um, well deserved. He is the cornerstone of that company. He is their biggest star. He has been the most consistent and the most loyal. Um, so I agree with him being, and he's not a old guy, but head and shoulders above everybody else is Roman Reigns. I mean, the 2-year run with the titles, him creating the bloodline, bringing in Paul Heyman. If you look at these past 2 years and his run with the titles, this is probably, with some things that we disagree with, I think we can both agree, in the mix. This is probably the most memorable world title run in recent wrestling history. From the stuff that he's been involved in to the matches he's been involved in, everything has been way more memorable. And I think that it was meant to kind of overshadow CM Punk's uh, reign when he was like longest reigning WWE champion of the modern era. But aside from that, I do think that Roman is what he deserves number 1, because the distance between number 1 and number 2 on this list is like the distance between New York and LA. It, like, Roman Reigns is head and shoulders above everybody in the industry. And I think that him kind of being number 1 100% makes sense. I was going to say, did you have anything left to comment on this list, or
Um, just to add to the Roman Reigns thing, I just think that the evolution of his character over the past couple of years is like amazing, because I went from like not caring for Roman Reigns as a concept, because of the direction they had him going in, being just like a baby face that's shoved down our throats. And I
yeah,
especially hated him when he decided to, not when he decided to, 'cause it wasn't his fault, but when Vince decided to make him defeat The Undertaker. And it's just like the crowd was already booing the shit out of this man. It's just like, why don't you just make him heel right now? Like, we
right.
literally cannot stand this man. Like, he just defeated my granddad. Like, I'm not okay with this. you
I'm
know?
weak.
Um, but no, I'm very much impressed. Like, this character fits so well for him. This role fits so well for him. I feel like he definitely elevated the belt in this position. He definitely showed us like that he has a lot of different like functions and modes to his character that he could apply, and that he has in his position. I feel like he has elevated a lot of talent,
Yeah,
which shocked me, because again, I didn't care for Roman rematches before. I always thought he just had like 5 moves that he just does over and over again repeatedly. But in this heel role, it's just so interesting. 'Cause I mean, I got to see a heel Roman. I got to see multiple factions being made, multiple stories being told. Various great matches that were put off, whether they were 1v1s or we had stipulation matches or whatnot. Um, I just thought that he's very much deserving of this, just because of the come up that he definitely has had in the last 2 years. So, congratulations to him, because I think that he shut us a lot of us up.
yeah,
The ones that did not believe in him, the ones that wanted him off TV, wanted him off air, the people that were happy that he couldn't show up to the fucking pandemic WrestleMania because we were just like, boo, get him out of our face. We're tired of seeing him. He shoved down our throats. Honestly, a lot of people don't mind him now. It
Yeah.
gotten to a point where it's just like he was the best thing on the show. So, like you just said, like he has to be number one. But we didn't touch upon number 9. I do want to comment on number 9 just because this is supposed to be
Whoo!
Big E's like year.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be, and I feel so bad for him with the way this injury has worked out. And, like, kudos to him for being such a trooper about it and not being mad and not directing his anger towards anyone. Because I think this is an injury that puts him out for 9 months to a year or
Yeah.
something. It's a neck injury, from my understanding. Like he was on a run. He was on a fucking run. He was white hot. I think a lot of people wanted to. He had the belt. He actually had the belt. But I feel like a lot of people wanted to see Big E take it home, and we
Hmm.
wanted to see him have a big Mania moment and stuff like that. So it is really disappointing. But I'm happy that they did not forget about our boy Big E and that they put him on the list. So
Absolutely.
good for him. It's great to see 2 black wrestlers in general on this fucking list. Honestly, I'm actually impressed with that too.
Three, technically.
3,
Jonathan Gresham,
3.
Big E, and Roman. Roman's black. 4, actually.
Roman's black.
Jonathan, Big E, Bobby, and Roman. We got almost half
He's
the
Samoan.
list. Come on, niggas. Yeah.
Hey.
Nah, I do agree with you though. Like this was supposed to be Big E's year. And to just kind of see him, it sucks that he kind of like had the injury, and it's good that he's being a trooper about it. But what really encourages me is that Hunter's in control now. And I feel like a Big E return under Hunter is going to be what Big E kind of envisioned for himself. So I'm very, very excited to see where Big E goes when he returns from injury. Um, but yeah, like, dag, we really got half the list. This, come on, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And it
Let's
and let's
go.
go. We got half the list. We got 40% of the list. But I do want to know everybody else's opinions on this. So if you can, tell us how you feel about the list. But we're gonna move on. So last week, our good friend Tony Khan hit the reset button after the all-out debacle. He vacated the World Trios and World Championships and was able to crown new Trio Championships in Death Triangle with a match between Death Triangle and Best Friends, which is a phenomenal match. And then he also created the Tournament of Champions, which is a 8-man single elimination tournament in which the finalists will compete at Dynamite Grand Slam on September 21st at Arthur Ashe Stadium. To find out who the new AEW World Champion is. The competitors in this tournament include Sammy Guevara, Bryan Danielson, Jon Moxley, Chris Jericho, just to name a few. But I wanted to know, we can go on and on and on about predictions, but we can do that anytime. I wanted to know from your perspective, this grand reset that he has hit in light of everything that's been going on. What does this say about Tony Khan's leadership?
Well, Cokehead is definitely working in overtime right now. And I can't be mad that he went about it the way he did. He made the right move when he decided to suspend everyone. I still think Funk could have got fired, but to each their own. He did what he thought was right and suspended everyone. Well, I personally had suspended the Bucks. No, definitely not. But I do appreciate it because it's finally showing that he can put his foot down, and it's not just, to punish them, but it's more so to finally like show the entire roster that, hey, like, I am your boss at the end of the day. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah.
We could laugh, we could joke, we could go to games, we could, do a line of coke with each other, whatnot. But like at the end of the day, I'm your boss, and you're gonna respect me. You're gonna respect this business.
Right.
So I can't be mad with the way he went about it. And I was not expecting the tournament to be very good. At first, I thought it was just, because it was rushed. Again, like this is something he literally threw together in like, what, 3 days or whatnot. I was very impressed with the tournament. I'm more excited for the tag team title belts than I am for the world title, only because I looked at the names, and don't get me wrong, I like the way that when they set up the tournament visual for the crowd to see, that it lists all their accolades so you can understand why they're there. But
Yeah.
at the same time, a lot of the names that were there, it's like, all right, like I don't want to see that person because we've already seen this before. I've seen this before. I've seen this before. It is to a point where I was just like, all right, the only person on this list I give a fuck to see if it wasn't Darby and he lost. So,
Yeah.
if it wasn't Darby, Brian. Brian. And like it needs to be Brian because of the fact of what we just said last week. Your world, you carrying the world championship title comes with a certain level of responsibility. This is a person that is the face of your company, that's
Mm-hmm.
going to represent your company. Mox carried that belt with grace. He was a great champion, and he was someone who makes your PR team look phenomenal. He has a pretty clean record, and he's pretty raw and very honest, very vulnerable with himself. But Daniel Bryan is, I think, to me, like the perfect face. If you
Mm-hmm.
want someone, babyface or heel, to carry that belt with some dignity and pride and make your company look good. You're not like no one's ever gonna expect Daniel Bryan to go pull some petty shit like Punk did
Right.
at a fucking media scrum interview. He won't do that. He's not the type to do that because not for nothing. Brian is very unbothered because at the end of the day, he knows he's that guy. He knows
Yeah.
he's that guy. No
He
one,
knows.
no one's ever gonna come for Brian. And if you're coming for Brian, you know you're the problem because that guy don't bother nobody. He's
And
always
everybody
helping
likes him.
people. Everyone loves him. They're always learning for him. I heard he's a person that people go to for advice. A lot of new guys like to learn from Brian, speak to Brian. He's just a good person, a good soul, a good spirit.
Right.
I feel like if it don't go in the direction of Brian, I'm gonna be very pissed off at Cokehead. But what I was more excited for was actually the tag team match. I had that shit playing on in the background, bro, because at first I didn't care because I was kind of annoyed at the situation. I didn't want the Bucks to be suspended. I felt
Right.
like honestly they weren't in the wrong. I mean, the guy
Right.
said if you got an issue with me, pull up. They pulled up. They did what they did. So. You know what I mean? And one of them
Right.
got a black eye from a chair. So I'm like, why are they losing their belts for? Like,
Right.
they
Right.
showed up with hands. This person showed up with a motherfucking chair and biting
Right.
and whatever. So honestly, I didn't care for it because I was a little bit salty. But then I turned my head and like when I started actually watching the match from like I don't know, probably like the 10 minutes in mark past, it was a good fucking match. It was a damn
Mm-hmm.
good match that actually caught my interest. I'm like, all right, I kind of want to see where this goes here.
Yeah.
I still think that the belts should regardless go straight back to them
Yeah.
because they didn't do anything wrong in my eyes. But in terms of Tony Khan's leadership, um, do I still think he needs to have a whole team hired to do this boss job? Because he could write the checks all he wants. He could sign people and write the checks all he wants. I still think that he could benefit from hiring people who are familiar with his business, familiar with his role, um, and how to take care of talents, conflictions, when it comes to talents. Um, Someone that again knows how to present themselves with proper authority, but they're going to make business moves that isn't about favoritism, but again, what is best for business.
Right.
So that's just my take on it. Sorry, I went for a long babble there, but
No, you're good.
I get
Because I
fired up when
agree.
I talk about cokehead. Go ahead.
It's the fact that you label him cokehead. I want to say that I was thoroughly impressed with Tony Khan's leadership in this. His kind of ability to kind of step up as a leader and his ability to kind of pivot. Um, I feel like with the leadership, this was a great way for him to put his foot down, as you said
Yeah.
earlier. I think that him suspending both the Bucks and like with the Bucks and Kenny on one end as well as CM Punk on the other end, it was him saying that this was my company. I feel like if Punk got suspended and or fired and the Bucks and Kenny were not reprimanded, they would have been like, oh, well, because they're EVPs. And I think that the reason why he made that move to suspend them, it wasn't about who was in the right versus who was in the wrong. It was about setting the tone. Nah, going forward, this is my bro. I'm the one that negotiated this media deal. I'm the one that put the bread
Period.
behind this. I signed the EVP's checks. So we're gonna set the tone and make this very clear. This is my company and I'm the one that sets up and breaks down kings in this. And if you don't like it, then oh well, it's still my company. And I think this was a message about that. Now, if there's details that we don't know that he does, then that's a whole other different thing. But I just thought that this was a great tone setter on his end. And I believe that the tournament that he established, the Tournament of Champions, was a great pivot as well. I do have to say this. Um, you said that Daniel Bryan Danielson should be the champion. I disagree. I think it should be John Moxley. I believe
Fine.
I believe that John Moxley should be the champion.
I'm
Um,
offended.
he has been presented. I don't know if you watch like the Road to Dynamite type of vignettes that they do, but this man has been positioned as the heart and soul of AEW. And in the promo that this man cut, um, at the beginning of the tournament, where he was like, you know, like I, you know, I was the one that dropped the ball, and but I'm a legend. I want the game winning shot. I want the ball in my hand. Winners are the ones with the ball want the ball in their hand when it's time to win the game. So like now I'm sold. I'm sold on John Moxley being the AEW world champion. And I think that, you know, he deserves it. I think that him going through everything that he went through in the company, from coming in and, taking on Jericho, to taking on Kenny, to winning the title, and then having, beating his addiction to alcohol and coming back looking better than ever, reinventing himself with the Blackpool Combat Club, and bringing in Wheeler Yuta, and possibly bringing in Daniel Garcia along with Daniel Bryan, but holding that world title and really elevating it in spite of everything that he went through. I think that you can't go wrong with John Moxley being the face of your company. This man knows how to put on a damn good match. This man knows how to put on a damn good promo. Does he bleed a lot? Perhaps. But based on the fact that this man was supposed to take a 6-week vacation and then he gets put into a tournament right after All Out, it says a lot about his heart and a lot about his character. And I think that, you know, I think that he deserves the world title, and I think that Tony Khan kind of positioning him as the face is another tone setter. Because at first, who was the face of All Elite Wrestling? The Elite. But now Tony is saying, you know what? This is happening. Whatever the case may be, it is what it is. But I'm the one that makes the decisions here. So if John Moxley's the face of AEW, then John Moxley is the face of AEW.
I'm
Period.
not
Because it's
mad at that point. I think that point is lovely. It's just that I feel like Daniel Bryan has been slept on since he's been here, and like my heart goes out for him.
very true.
So it's not wrong if it goes to Mox. I think that's still a heartfelt moment, but I feel like the crowd would pop heavy if it was Bryan, because we expected him to be champion sooner.
Very true.
So I mean, if it's a case where it goes to Mox, but then somehow this ends up in a feud with just them, and then maybe Bryan could take the belt off, then I'm fine with it. I'm cool with it. I can't be
Right.
mad if Mox wins. I can't.
Right.
Like, especially with the way you just painted it out was perfect, by the way. Like,
Hey.
he no, it's just seriously, like, I agree with you. That promo that he cut, I forgot to mention it, so I'm happy you brought it up. That sold me too, but it's just that, again, I have a soft spot for Bryan. Kind of like, he's been putting on all these fucking classics, and it's just
Yes.
like, where's the payout for my guy?
Right. And like, to your point, I wouldn't be mad if a Bryan Danielson got the world title as well. I just think that post All Out, I think that coming from All Out, I think it was supposed to be MJF and Punk, with Punk positioned as the heel and MJF positioned as the babyface, just off the strength of the reaction that MJF got in Chicago alone. But if MJF is not going to be the face working the way that he was, it's best for Moxley to be the face, win the tournament in this like heroic effort, and then MJF takes it off of him as like his classic heel persona. I just think that that would be better for a storyline perspective, and I think that everybody wins. But
I get with that.
yeah, I think that that's like the best. That's the best way to go. But going back to what Tony Khan's leadership, I was heavily criticizing him last week, and I feel like I have to praise him this week. I feel like being into the position that he was in was not easy. When you vouch for a certain group of people who are considered your friends in the elite, and then vouching for someone who you consider like one of your favorite wrestlers, I know that that was hard and that was difficult on him as a leader and as a fan of pro wrestling. But I think that he handled it very, very well, because he set the tone with his relationship with Punk, his relationship with the elite, and I think what he wants the tone of the locker room moving forward. Like, yeah, you can have your little creative freedom. We could do things that WWE isn't doing, but don't get it twisted. I'm that nigga. I'm your boss. Like I'm going to do what's necessary to be done to do good business. So I think that Tony Khan deserves all the praise for what he did with his leadership this time around. But speaking
Good
on
job,
that,
Cokehead.
but speaking, Jesus, but speaking on that, um, in the following of this, um, it was reported that Cultaholic, Jesus, Cultaholic reported that the Young Bucks sent out feelers to express interest in possibly signing with WWE. Um, do you believe this report? And do you think the elite would make the jump to WWE? Also, do you hear my reflection in your audio?
No,
No? Okay, cool. Um,
no.
do you believe that the elite would make that jump to WWE?
If they do, not this soon. Maybe down the line,
Mhm.
if let's just say like they see what Hunter's doing is, so great over there and so much more organized and you know, so far from what I've been reading the reports, a lot of people have been a lot happier since Hunter has been in control.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Imagine if he keeps moving up the ranks until he basically is in Vince McMahon's fucking position
Mhm.
and just what he could do with the company then. Like I feel like not right now would they make this move, but let's just let's revisit the same question a year from now and if Tony Khan doesn't get his shit together with his company and the organization and um if the talents aren't happy over there, I could kind of see it. But I think right now they wouldn't want to off of pride
Mhm.
because of how much they all kind of rubbed into WWE's face in the beginning of AEW. It would look very foolish to watch them immediately just like fold. I know, like, from what the report said, they're only extending their contract till 2023 or 2024.
I think end of
What was
2023.
the extension? 2023. Okay, yeah, so they still have that year left. Um, I think they honestly want to stick around just to see how everything does play out and they probably make their decision there because no matter where they go, they're always going to be marketable.
Yeah.
They're like no matter where they go, people are going to know their names and they're going to be a draw. I don't think they really need AEW, but I think they are sticking around because this originally started off as if it's a project that's also under them. So they want to
Mhm.
work with it.
Yeah.
They obviously want to salvage what they have left of this company and probably, um make amends with everyone, but I do it does make you question considering they lost their position as EVPs.
Mhm.
Essentially, like what do you do from here? Like you got demoted. How do they feel in this moment? I don't know. What do you think?
I honestly think that they would. Um, I think that they're not going to openly say it because they do want to work with the AEW Dynamite and Rampage products a little bit more. They want to see where it goes from
Right.
here. I feel like you can't talk about all elite wrestling without the elite, and specifically Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. Cody is a different case because he kind of had a name before the Indies and joining Bullet Club and joining the elite, but you can't say the same for Kenny and the Bucks. They are the elite. They are the like the proverbial heart and soul of all elite wrestling. But I do feel like they would be interested in signing with WWE, and the reason why I say that is because I feel like they may be at a point or maybe have somewhat considered, like, especially after the whole all out fallout. Nah, that was a bar. Um,
Heh.
I feel
That's a good
like
play
after
on
the
words.
whole all out fallout, they realized we this is not our company. They do not legally own all elite wrestling. Tony Khan does. This is his company. And I feel like part of the allure of starting AEW was like, this is the elite's company. No, 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 no. Tony Khan, being the smart businessman that he is, had the money and partnered with people who had already established a brand and put money behind a company that was fueled with the momentum of that brand of the elite to create all elite wrestling. But just because you use Tony Khan used essentially the name, image, likeness of the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, Hangman Adam Page, and Cody Rhodes to create All Elite Wrestling. But just because you use somebody's name, image, and likeness to add value to what you're doing doesn't mean that whoever you were using has equity in your company. So I think that they understand, as much as like we love this, as much as we see our vision come to fruition in this company, you have to understand that this is not our company, which means the only thing that we can determine is like, well, how much money do we want to make? And there's a ceiling on that. Based on Tony's budget, Tony is going to decide who gets what. And it's like, well, if that's the case, then we might as well put ourselves in a position to make the most money. And if there's anybody that's going to compete with Tony, it's WWE, right? And like, I think the decision is just bigger than wrestling, because it's like, I don't know about Kenny, but I know that Nick and Matt have families. You understand? Like they got kids, they have wives and properties and stuff. So it's just like, I think that when the time comes, you know, they may join, but I think it's based on their needs of their family and how stable they want them to be and how much more they want to go for, right? But I could definitely see them jumping to WWE for sure. I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Sorry, I hit the
You're
button because
you're good.
I don't want this noise distracting you. But my question was, how do you think that would affect AEW if the Elite all collectively just dipped?
The momentum would leave. I think that once again, um, I feel like people were attracted to going to All Elite Wrestling because of the Elite, because of Cody and the Bucks and Kenny, and I feel like a lot of guys wanted to come to AEW to work with those guys, whether you're a tag team like FTR or whether you're a singles competitor like Brian Danielson who wants to go against, a guy like Kenny Omega, who at the time was New Japan Wrestling's golden child. You know what I mean? And I feel like the allure of AEW was, oh snap, I could work with Kenny. Oh snap, I could work with the Bucks. And I have creative control and I only work one time a week. I'm sold. So it's like, I feel like if all those guys were to leave All Elite Wrestling, like it's gonna hit hard. It's gonna hit
So you don't
hard.
think they have created like a attractive enough roster in the time being? They debuted in like 2019 ish.
Yeah,
It's been a few years. You don't think that they had created you know, give me one moment.
you're good.
Yeah. Yeah, so as I was saying, I was wondering, that it's been like 3 years now. That's about think yeah, about 3 years now. That's a pretty long time for them to build up other talent,
Mm-hmm.
um, and try to create another circle beyond just the EVPs. Because, like you said, they were the hook. They were that fish bait to get us all hooked into tuning into AEW, especially for like a long time indie fan or Mark or whatever. That was the appetizer. But it's just like now that they've been here for this amount of years, do you think that Tony Khan has done a good enough job with shining light on other talent? So let's just say in the worst possible situation, the EVP all collectively drop at the same time and say, "Yeah, no, I'm dipping, going to WWE." Like, who would fulfill that role? Like, who do you think is built up enough now?
The
Do you think
only
there's
per
anyone built up enough now? Mhm.
I think the only person that I honestly don't know. And that's a very, very good question because I don't know. And the reason why I say I don't know, I think that they have a drastically better roster than they did when they started. However, one, I feel
Mhm.
like they have a roster outside the elite, they have a roster of role players as opposed to star players. I think that they
Ooh.
have some stars on there, but I feel like it's kind of like the same notion that it's kind of like the same notion of like you have an NBA team and like you have, let's just say, like a Kevin Durant or a Kyrie Irving, and they're both inactive for the season, but like you have like your third star. Like I feel like I feel like AEW is filled with like the third stars, right? I feel like they got legends in AEW. I feel like they have Daniel Bryan. I feel like
Mhm.
they have Cesaro, like Bryan Danielson, John Moxley, Chris Jericho. But like, if we're talking about building a company, we're talking about building the future. It's about what you're doing for your younger stars more than it is for your older stars. I feel like Mox, Bryan, Jericho are solidified to the point where they don't need to do anything else. But it's like you can't, build your company on the backs of those three guys. It's about what you're doing for your younger
Mhm.
talent. And I feel like while they've had the majority of their roster, I feel like Tony has taken his eye off the ball. Like I feel like MJF should have been built way more. And I feel like if he has a world title within the near future, I feel like he can be that guy. I feel like Sammy should have been built way more. I feel like Darby should have been built way more. Sammy
Oh,
has had
word,
Sammy
word.
has had his TNT title reigns and what may have you. He is who he is, and I think that he's a phenomenal talent. But I feel like Darby should have been built a
Mhm.
little bit more. I feel like Jungle Boy should have been built a little bit more. If you're gonna consider these guys the four pillars of AEW, 3 years into your company, they should be tried and true, proven stars by now. Jungle Boy should not be beefing with Christian Cage. Like he should have, he has the tag team titles under his belt, but he should have the TNT title under his belt. I feel like
And Ricky Starks. He needs to stop playing with Ricky Starks.
Ricky Starks as well. Like they have the talent, you know what I mean? I feel like they have a lot of I feel like AEW has a lot of talent, but if there were people that if you ask me like who can step into their place, step into like the Bucks and Kenny's place right now, I don't see anybody because I they haven't done a good job. They haven't done as good of a job as they can with building their younger guys. So that's my take on it. What about you? Do
I
you feel the
agree
same?
entirely.
Yeah.
No, I feel entirely the same, and I feel like no one talks about it because we're so distracted with the elite and seeing these already established faces that we love from WWE. Like,
Mhm.
I think we all just like gotten used to it and accepted it that these are our main 10 players and everyone else is kind of like a filler, which it sucks because you're supposed to be homegrown talent. You're supposed to take advantage of your homegrown talent because they're supposed to be the direct reflection of you of
Mhm.
like, do you know how awesome it'd be to be in Tony Khan's position to take a nobody that nobody knew about, no one's talking about, and you took them, put them in your company, and you built them up to be a draw, to be like worth a million freaking bucks. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like that would make you look amazing as a boss, not taking people who are already established from other companies who we already like and then putting them in the driver's seat every single time.
Mhm.
Because again, they already knew walking in that, yeah, I'm that guy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I'm an investment for you.
Mhm.
That's the part I don't think that Tony Khan like thought about when he was doing all these signings and stuff like that, or when he was doing all these bookings. So he treated these people better because it's just like they're walking in already like at a certain level.
Yeah.
Like in his position, like you just said, he should have had at least 5 people properly built up that were homegrown talent that we didn't know nothing about, and he should have took those people, and it should by now 3 years deep they should be set up in a position where it's just like, I if my elite leaves or my veterans leave, we aight, because we literally sat here and like built up from the ground up our own strong roster. So shit, I mean, but he's learning. He's learning
He's
as he
learning. Yeah.
goes. So hopefully, the same way he learned from this last situation with the all out fallout, as you called it, like that, we're gonna coin that.
That's a
Um,
bar. That's a
same way,
bar.
same way that he learned from that. I hope he learns from this experience and that this is all a wake up call because he needs to
Mhm.
make better, smarter moves.
That's a fact.
That's all I
I,
gotta
I I
say.
agree with that. I was gonna say, in addition to that, to kind of to end my little rant. When I was thinking about this whole situation with Tony Khan, I don't know if you follow the NBA, but when I was thinking about this whole situation with Tony Khan, it reminded me of Joe Tsai. Joe Tsai is the owner of the Brooklyn Nets. And this past offseason was hell for him because Joe Tsai was in a position where he was kind of put in a pickle where he had to trade his biggest asset in Kevin Durant. And, Kevin was, said, I'm not staying unless you fire the coach or you fire the GM. He didn't do either. It was like, and then he was like, "Oh well, I'm not. I need to go to Miami. I have all these places." And Josiah was like, "I'm not trading you unless I get something in return for you." But just like the stance that he took, and eventually Kevin Durant was like, "All right, I'll stay in Brooklyn." Like it would kind of resembles that where like I'm not I'm not budging for you. I'm setting this is mine. I'm setting the tone and I'm moving forward and I'm going to be doing what's best for my company. The same way Joe Tsai did that for the Brooklyn Nets is what I believe um what I believe Tony Khan did for AEW. So I just wanted to sprinkle that on before
No,
we move on to
excellent analogy.
for the next thing. But moving on, um speaking of the All Out Fallout, it was reported, PW Stream reported that Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks are hiding information about the All Out Brawl. Do you believe this report? Yes or no?
It, it's underneath investigation. Of course, they're gonna hide more stuff.
Right,
Like, what can you possibly do when they tell you you can't say nothing about it? There's
right.
probably a lot of things that we don't know about, and it's gonna come to light eventually when all this is said and done.
Yeah,
But yeah, I believe it, and thank God, because you guys have another big pay per view coming up in New York, and it. Although drama is good, because publicity, whether it's bad or good, it causes ratings, it causes a draw. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who didn't care about their Grand Slam tickets. They're probably like holding on to them tight now because of all the messiness that's happened.
very true.
Um, but I think that it's good that everyone is silenced on this, so that instead of focusing on the drama and taking away from um, everyone's hard work that wasn't involved, now we could actually like get back to business and rebuild the integrity of AEW, because we went from, laughing at WWE saying, "Oh, AEW is doing everything right over there in
Yeah,
WWE." They got people running around rampant doing whatever they want to do. There's no organization. It's like a high school over there, and it's just like now it is over here.
right.
Everything that they were pointing the fingers for is coming right back to their faces.
Yeah,
So I'm happy, because now it's going to condition us for the next couple of weeks. Now that we're going to probably slowly forget about this situation, get back on topic, focus on the wrestling, focus on what this company actually decided to set out to do.
right.
Um, so it's good. It's smart. What do you think?
I think that yeah, I think that information is being hidden just because there is an investigation going on. So of course there's going to be things that we don't know like you said. Um but I also feel like there's stuff that we don't know from both sides. I don't think it's just exclusive to just Kenny and the Bucks. I think that there's stuff on the CM Punk end that we may not know as well. Um Not just pertaining to the actual incident, but leading up to the incident, because this was a slow fester, right? It kind of reared its ugly head um a couple of times during weekly TV when we saw Punk and Hangman go at it, and Hangman started taking jabs and shots, and you know what I mean. So there's a lot of stuff leading up to it that we don't know, and I feel like that's just the case from both sides. But I think that as once again, like this kind of smooths over and the investigation progresses, I feel like we're going to know more and more information about this, and I have a feeling that we're going to be very surprised at what comes out. But because we've been talking about AEW for too long. Speaking of New York,
Word.
our girls Sasha Banks and Naomi were taking New York Fashion Week by storm. They were seen in a couple of shows over the past couple of weeks. And Sasha Banks has been on record as saying that she's working on a lot of different things, acting, whether it's music. We talked about her in her venture into cannabis, into that industry. Uh, so my question was, do you believe that these occurrences are have been set up by WWE as a part of like a storyline, or do you think that these are just independent ventures, and we're just seeing Trinity and Mercedes kind of spread their wings and do their thing?
Oh, definitely the second option, because this is not the first time Sasha had to take a break or has walked out on the
Mhm.
company. She was depressed. She went through a deep depression the first time. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And it's almost like her being in this company is kind of like a toxic relationship. So it's just
Yeah.
like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I feel like she was just like, bitch, you're not about to play in my face again. You're
That's a
not about to
fact.
play in my face again.
That's a
I'll
fact.
come back. I'll come back because I know that y'all need me at this point, but I'm not going to put all my eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
And we've been knew that Sasha is capable of so many things. I mean, she's drop dead gorgeous, so the modeling role works perfect for her. We've seen her act in The Mandalorian, so we know that she's capable of doing more in that role. I mean, she fucking has cousins that are in the music industry. I'm very surprised that she hasn't already had music out because
Yeah.
I think back during the pandemic area
Era.
era. A little
Good old
dyslexic.
pandemic era. Yeah.
um, yeah, the pandemic era. My bad. Or maybe actually right before that, in like 2019 ish. I could have swore she was like teasing that she was in the studio, and like there's
Yeah.
pictures of her
I
out
remember
with like
that.
headphones on, but she never did anything with it. In my head, bro, I thought she was going to come out at WrestleMania with her own track. I thought that was going to be the
Imagine
shit. I thought
Sasha
that was going to be
rapping.
fire.
Right.
I'm sorry, I can't. I can't. Cause when she speaks, she has like a natural slur to her voice. So I'm not sure if I could see her rapping. However, singing, I could. She probably has a voice back there. I mean, she
Right.
relates to Brandy. Something has to be there.
Some if you're
You know what I
related to
mean?
Brandy, if you're related to Miss
Right?
Brandy Norwood, you gotta have a voice. Even Ray J got a voice.
Think.
So
Yeah,
like
yeah. She probably got some pipes back there that we don't know about.
that we have no
So,
idea about.
but I love that not only for her, but we were just talking about a few weeks ago about how Naomi's also very marketable. Like, she's also drop dead gorgeous. She's also very, very talented.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm happy that I don't want to say that Sasha necessarily took Naomi underneath her wing because I don't. To me, it just almost comes off like a charity case, and that's not what
Yeah.
Naomi is.
At
I
all.
think I just look at it as two boss bitches that just sat down one day and it's like, yo, don't these people like need us at the end of the day? Like we already have this huge fan base that is like committed to us like the Barbs are for crying out
Yeah.
loud. Like wherever we go, these people are going to flock, you know?
Right.
Um, like when it came to Total Divas, like Naomi was like one of the biggest freaking stars on that show. People were in love with her personality and what she had to bring to the table. So we know that sis could definitely handle being in front of other cameras beyond WWE, and she already has like a background with dancing and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
she's drop dead gorgeous. So when I saw the modeling, I was so happy. Kyle's just like, yes, get it, girls, get it. You know what I
Right.
mean? Because this company been playing in both of their faces, and it's just like, don't get me wrong, I'm happy that Triple H is there because he's definitely going to straighten some things out. But at the same time, I think they just took that as like a mental note that, I got to expand. God forbid. God forbid this blows up in my face again. I had to expand because I know my worth and I don't want this
Mhm.
company to tell me my worth anymore. So when I saw them, I was smiling from ear to ear. Like I was so happy for them. Compass, like this is just the beginning. I
Mhm.
know that they're going to blow up, that they're going to get brand deals left and right. We're going to see these girls in ads. We might see these girls in movies, commercials, all that stuff like that. Like I see them coming up with their own line. I know Sasha has her cannabis thing going on, but I definitely see them coming out with maybe like a clothing line, a perfume line, makeup line, whatever. I know that they're gonna blow up and expand. So it's just like, yeah, we know them because of wrestling, but they're building their own career like The Rock without WWE's help.
Yep.
Without, I really feel like that they're just naturally getting all these brands. It's a different day and age. You feel me?
Yeah.
Like back in The Rock's era, they didn't have social media. But nowadays, if you got enough numbers, enough engagement, stuff like that, other products or other celebrities or whatever, they come across you. I mean, we got Cardi B, for example, as a freaking wrestling fan. You know
Right.
what I mean? How did Rihanna pick up on Bianca Belair and give her
Right.
a deal, if any? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's not that hard to really expand. It's a matter of do you want to take that ball or not? And since the WWE's allowing it, I'm assuming that there has to have been something in the contract here, or maybe there's been some changes I don't really know about.
Mhm.
But now that they have that access that they could do what they want beyond these this squared circle or whatever, like the options are endless and I'm just proud of my girls. I'm so proud cuz like they're never going to fail. Wherever they go, they are never going to fail. Like, and I think this
Ever.
is what all the fans wanted for Sasha and Naomi. At the end of the day, us as fans just want to see them happy, and this is probably like the most I ever seen Sasha and Naomi glow.
Mm-hmm.
Like, since they've been active on social media, they've been posting back to back nonstop. And there hasn't been an inkling of wrestling. Not that they
Right.
forgot about it, but it's just like, like, look what else I could do, bitch.
Right. We're
You know what
very
I mean? I'm that girl. We are those girls.
right, for a fact. I was gonna say, to kind of piggyback off of you, we're in the era of
Mhm.
Trinity and Mercedes, not Sasha and Naomi.
Yes.
And it's
Yes.
it's like, I think that Sasha kind of alluded to it because she talked about it in her 24 after the whole WrestleMania 35 breakdown in New York, of just like understanding that her life is bigger than wrestling, and understanding that her identity is not just who she is as a wrestler. And I think that we're seeing that manifest in real time now, after this second kind of meltdown or breakdown. There's an old saying that goes, one source of income is too close to none. And I think that because of that, they're both positioning themselves for multiple streams of income, so that when they go back to WWE, they have the leverage. That's one of the dangerous things about this era of Sasha Banks and Naomi, is that they're very much, like you said, they're going into a Rock, John Cena-esque era. Not in the sense of being as big of stars, even though in my eyes, I feel like they can be as big of stars or be bigger than they are. I feel like the reason why The Rock is so powerful and the reason why John Cena is so powerful is because they can both say no. They can both say, no, I don't need this. I John Cena has like 20 different shows on Nickelodeon. The Rock, it has a whole damn football league. Like, Mercedes is gonna be to a point where she goes back to WWE, and it's just like, or Mercedes and Trinity are gonna go back to WWE, and it's just like, this is my number. Meet it or I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And that's the end of
Yeah,
the
they're gonna have
discussion.
so much more creative control.
Right. They're
Like,
gonna have the creative control because they're gonna have the leverage. And I think that this is not a set up by WWE, in my opinion. We may see inklings of this in a WWE storyline, but I think that's the beauty of wrestling, right? We see, your real life personality and your real life experiences affect who you are as a wrestler. But I think that it's the reality first and then the wrestling. And I think that they're working on creating their own, dope little multiverses, like doing their own thing, so that, wrestling is not the only thing. And so that the wrestling product can ultimately be better. Um, but yeah, I do think that these are independent ventures, and I'm very, very excited for these ladies. And I'm very, very eager to see what's next. But speaking of the ladies, on the latest edition of our Raw Talk, Jerry Lawler expressed how he is not a fan of Bianca Belair and wishes that she would cut her hair off or cut the braid off because it is too long. Now, I wanted to know, considering his past regarding his commentary on women, is this him being a heel, or is this a statement that's fueled with racial undertones?
definitely racial undertones. And first of all, why we asking a pedophile about questions about another woman? And isn't he racist on top of that? So like, whatchamacall? All he ever used to do when it came to commentary on females was, it was always something derogatory,
Yeah.
constantly. Like, yeah, it was funny here and there, but like when you watch it back as an adult, it's like, bro, like Jerry, not Jerry Lawler, fucking Jr. was like really carrying the commentary of anything of relevancy. He was
Right.
definitely carrying that, because all Jerry Lawler was doing was basically just saying, perverted things the entire time. Was I shocked that he doesn't like Bianca Belair? No, I'm not. But the way he came straight out the gates is saying like, "Oh, I'm not a fan of Bianca Belair. She needs to cut off the braid and da 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 da." It just, I don't know, it came out very anti-black to me.
Yeah.
Again, why are we asking the pedophile of opinions about grown ass women? Obviously, he's not interested in them. Obviously, he's not gonna say nothing positive about them. He like
Right.
little girls.
Right.
But
Oh my god.
but it just pisses me off because just, I love Bianca Belair. I love her from a personal standpoint and I love her from an athletic standpoint. Like, she is such a rare gem. Like, it is
Mm-hmm.
amazing that, like, Mark Henry had just discovered, like, this phenomenal CrossFit track athlete who just she's a natural in terms of just athleticism. She's super creative. She makes her own fucking gear. She caught on to the business and how to cut promos and matches and stuff like that, and she incorporates her athletic abilities and stuff that she learned from CrossFit and track and stuff like that into her matches. I mean, she was very early on. She didn't stay in the PC for very long. She was thrown
Right.
into NXT matches, put on classic after classic after classic. I still go back and watch the her matches with Shayna Baszler, even though I wasn't happy with the outcome because I was
Yeah.
always Team Bianca.
Right.
Like, she's amazing. She's a superstar. She is someone where she makes people like me proud, because she was a face that I wish I had growing up as a kid, like a hero
Mm.
that I always wanted to have on TV. But I'm happy that she could be that hero for other little girls, you
Right.
know. Um, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just love what she's done for the business. She don't bother nobody. She's a good soul. She's a good spirit. She makes your company look damn good because she's
Yeah.
just not with the mess. She's really not. She's very much grown. She's very much focused. She is the epitome of black excellence, if you ask me. So when I heard those comments, I was pissed because it's just like, first of all, why are we asking him to begin with? Like, when has he ever gave a good wrestling take?
Right.
An actual analytical wrestling take. It just came off again very anti-black. Like, do I think that her braids should be cut off eventually in terms of the story mode? Yeah, but not story mode. The fuck? We're playing a video game here.
Right. I was about to say, what
Storyline.
what in the SmackDown versus Raw is you talking about, dog?
I've been gaming too much lately. Let me stop. Let me stop. But in terms of storylines, whatchamacallit, I did want that for her versus Bailey for their I Quit match. It's just the way
Mm.
he just came straight out with his first two comments being that he does not like her and she needs to get rid of the hair. It's just like, what's the hair doing to you?
Right.
What's wrong with the hair? Like, I think that is super innovative and creative as fuck that she literally uses her hair as a weapon, a legal weapon in the match. Like, I think that is so freaking dope. Like, what I love about Bianca in general is that she's just unapologetically black. She's gonna bring that shit to
Yes.
the front face, and she's gonna be bold and loud about it. I love that. So I love the braid. I have an attachment to the braid. And the day she loses that braid, whoever is going to cut that off is going to become the ultimate heel. Let me tell you that right now. Like, we all
Mm-hmm.
have an attachment to that braid. Little girls be buying that little $20-$30 hairpiece that WWE is
Yep.
selling.
Yep.
Bianca even had me making a braid. Bianca had me walking around with a braid before, and I'm grown.
Right. A fully
You know
grown
what I
woman.
mean? Yeah, yeah. You know what I mean? So it's just like I'm pissed because just like she's just a good woman. It just reminds me of a type of like backlash and heat that Naomi gets. But am I
Mm.
shocked? No. It's just that why did they think that was okay to ask him? You could have asked anybody else. You really could have asked anybody else that question. Why did you think that he was a credible enough source to ask? Like, do you think that was on purpose?
Right. I I
I'm
I
asking.
I
Do you think that was on purpose?
I think so. For starters, the way that it was positioned, like I don't think that the producers at Raw Talk just thought this one through. I like for just from a face value, why are we asking Jerry Lawler about women? End of question. Why? Any woman, black, white, butter pecan, Puerto Rican, when has Jerry Lawler's take about women's wrestling uh put women's wrestling in a positive light that wasn't perverse or sexually related? I can't recall. Anytime I've heard about Jerry Lawler and his commentary on women, all I can think about is his reaction to the 1998 bikini contest between Sable and Jacqueline. So it's just like I don't, from that perspective, I don't understand why Jerry is being asked about any woman. Um, I, I so I don't think that it was done on purpose. I do think that they just didn't think it through. Um, but at the same in that same breath, I feel like this statement that he made, it was him trying to be a heel, but he also had racial undertones tied to it because you could just tell that he didn't understand. He didn't grow an attachment to the Bianca Belair character or the Bianca Belair gimmick or the Bianca Belair braid. And because of that, that resentment kind of popped out when he made that statement, right? It was giving old white man that didn't understand rap music. That was the energy that I was getting
Yeah.
from him when he made the statement. It's just like, why do people think this is cool? I don't get it. And then he tried to, but Bailey, but Bailey's gonna cut that braid off, and it's just like, all right, we get it. You don't like Bianca, um,
Yeah.
but it was giving a little bit of racial. It was giving racial undertones, and but I feel like the problem here isn't necessarily Jerry. It's the culture in pro wrestling that has allowed Jerry Lawler to make him feel comfortable with making these statements about black women or just any woman in general. Like we've seen Dark Side of the Ring and we've seen how there have been literally cases of sexual assault, harassment, abuse, and wrestlers will literally tell the women don't sell it. I think that the same culture that emboldens that is the same culture that emboldens Jerry Lawler to kind of move the way that he moves. Um, so I think that uh this was a statement that definitely had some racial undertones attached to it and him also trying to be a heel. But I think that WWE in 2022 should know better than to ask Jerry Lawler about any woman, specifically about a black woman. Like that's just, and specifically Bianca Belair, especially if they want, her to have this mainstream appeal. We talked about her being signed to an agency, and if the whole idea is for WWE to collect checks based off of Bianca's IP, based off of her name, her image, her likeness, that's technically owned by WWE, is like, why am I putting in a why
Mhm.
am I going to put my investment in a position like where the perception of her value can be lessened, not her
Yeah.
actual value, because we know how valuable Bianca is, but I like, that's my investment. I'm going to do what I need to do to protect that investment. But if y'all have any opposing comments, y'all let us know. Y'all sound off in the comments. Now moving on
Yes,
to the
ma'am.
last segment. Ow, I hit my head. Moving on to the last segment of the show. Definitely hit my head right on the top of my damn head.
Are you
Anyway,
okay?
I'm good. I'm
Oh
straight.
my god.
Um,
Alright.
so the latest in NXT, Solo Sikoa. I want to make sure that I have this name right. Solo Sikoa uh, has just won the NXT North American Championship from Carmelo Hayes. And we also have a brand new NXT logo that resembles one of the black and gold. So I wanted to know, I guess, two opinions concurrently. First, with Solo picking up the belt, how do you agree with this decision, and how do you think that NXT and WWE should move forward creatively with both of these characters? And the second thing is, how do you feel about this NXT, I guess, 1.5? Because this was the 1 year anniversary show of NXT 2.0. And I think that the title win was a shock, but them revealing the logo was kind of like the next step in their evolution. So I wanted to know, how do you feel about the return, what it seems to be the return of the black and gold or the white and gold, as well as what should be the next creative direction for Carmelo Hayes and um, Solo?
Honestly, I love Carmelo Hayes and I really enjoyed him as a North American champion. I would prefer it if he had actually brought the belt to the main roster and he had a few matches, still repping the belt over
Mm-hmm.
there. But can I say that I'm upset about Solo Sikoa having the belt? No,
Really?
because I can't, only just because I see what Hunter is doing here, especially with him bringing back the new logo. It's to make it apparent that, hey, we're no longer doing that developmental shit.
Yeah.
Okay, that this was my baby when we started off.
Yep.
The Black and Gold brand was a tertiary brand. It was not a developmental brand to begin with, and I feel as though he did that in the sequence that he did with showing Solo Sikoa as being a vital part in the main event to Clash at the Castle, and then
Mm-hmm.
having him featured with the Usos. I feel like with him slapping the belt on him at this point in time is not only to set him up to uh, keep everyone's eyes on him if you weren't already watching 2.0, because I know a lot of people stopped watching 2.0,
Mm-hmm.
or stop watching NXT, I should say, in general, not 2.0 necessarily. Some people didn't even start watching fucking 2.0.
Right.
But I feel as though he did that on purpose because now that he sees that um now that you put him in a position where he's on Raw and he's placed with the important people, you're part of Roman Reigns' faction. That's a big thing. That's a big move. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I feel as though on top of that, he also is trying to help out 2.0 because that was a failed experiment, as we could see.
Yeah.
There were some amazing stars that came out of it. Don't get me wrong. But I feel as though he's trying to rebuild it back to where he had it at with 1.0. But he's also trying to again show you that this is not a developmental brand. This is a brand that plays a role with the main roster. Get used to seeing these faces. So I feel like by putting the belt on him, it makes you as a fan forced to be forced to watch Monday and Tuesday night
Mm-hmm.
because just like whoa, 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 this is the same guy that had a role in Roman Reigns' match, and he's with the Usos with Sammy, and he just got a belt, and we're gonna see him walking around with that belt. And if you're someone who wasn't really watching NXT to begin with, you're gonna wonder, all right, where did that belt come from? You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Now you got to go
Yeah.
chase and hunt down an NXT. So it makes me actually kind of excited. Do I wish that he didn't have to take it from Carmelo? No, because I love Carmelo. He put on great matches.
Very
He
true.
and Trick Williams was actually my favorite duo as far as NXT 2.0 is like if anything, bro, if anything, I know it was a failed experiment. They were the best things on the show.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I think that maybe Carmelo is being moved up to the main roster. We're This is definitely not gonna be the last of him. Um, hopefully we can see him maybe go claim the one of the mid card titles whenever he's being moved up. But I'm not really mad at it. I know a lot of people don't like Solo Sokoa. I honestly found him interesting when I watched him on 2.0. I knew that he was automatically going to be featured with Roman Reigns. I just didn't expect it to happen this way. Clearly, he's clearly a Triple H guy.
Mm-hmm.
Has to be. You don't just give this man a belt and set him up with the Usos and Sammy underneath Roman. Like they're
Mm-hmm.
definitely letting you guys know that hey, like this is our next guy in line. Roman may be going part time, but don't worry, we got another player involved. We got something in our bag over here.
Yep.
So
That's a
I'm
fact.
excited because I don't know what to expect, and that's when wrestling is exciting to me. When I don't know what to expect, that's like what makes me want to tune in more because like what are they gonna do with him? Like where do we go from here? What does this
Right.
mean? What do you think?
So this is where this brain gets to working. I think number one, here's I'm gonna start off with this.
Am I be shook
Carmelo,
again?
I think you are.
Let's go.
So for starters, Carmelo and Trick are they give me African American Shawn and Diesel. I've been saying this since I've seen them paired together. I feel like because of that, they're
See,
going to stay in NXT. But I think that Braun had his when Keith Lee won the North American and NXT championship, he lost
yeah.
the titles right after. Braun Breaker
Mhm.
just won the NXT and the NXT UK World Championship. I think he's going to
Mhm.
lose it soon, and I think he's going to drop it to Carmelo. I think that Carmelo is going to be the person that dethrones Braun Breaker. Braun's going to go to the main roster. Carmelo's going to keep the titles and be the guys and be the NXT World Champion. I feel like he's going to be the first post NXT UK NXT World Champion. And I think he's going to take the belt off of Braun. So that's number one. I think that's what's next for Carmelo. Second, what is a trend that we've been seeing in pro wrestling? And this is pertaining to Solo Sikoa. We've been seeing Impact champions on AEW. We've been seeing AEW champions in New Japan Pro Wrestling. We've been seeing New Japan champions in Impact. Everybody's been trading champions. This is WWE's response to that. We're going to put the belt on a guy that we think is next in line. We're going to put him on Raw. We're going to put him on SmackDown because not only do we want to increase the exposure of this belt, we want you to get associated with this face, with this name, with this belt so that you can hunt the NXT product down. But I also just thought about something else. What did Roman ask Sammy to do? Go get that Intercontinental title. What did he didn't do? What did he not do? He didn't get the Intercontinental title. So you telling me my little bro who just helped me out in the UK went back to NXT, took that belt easy. My younger cousins got their tag belts, but you don't have the Intercontinental title belt? You can't be in the bloodline and you don't have no gold. And that's going to initiate the turn on Sammy. So in
I don't
addition
want to
to
see them
that,
break up.
huh? I don't either.
I don't want to see
I
them
don't
break
either.
up.
I think this is one of the
Sammy
most
is so funny to
he's
me.
so entertaining, and I think he's so funny. I think this is going to initiate the breakup. But I also think that Solo winning the belt was the best thing that NXT could do, because the best thing that WWE Creative could do, because if Roman, like you said, if Roman is going part-time, you need to build a new star. That's number one. Number two, look at how he was introduced. One of the biggest shows of the year, he interrupted in it, has amazing heel heat. You want to establish a new heel, that's the way to go. You put the belt on the guy that niggas already don't like for whatever reason, right? And then on top of that, the Usos gave him this grand introduction. He didn't say, welcome. He's the new member of the bloodline. They ended up saying he's the new member of the bloodline. He said he's the Usos' little brother. The Usos that have the unified WWE tag team titles. The Usos that are one of the greatest tag teams in the history of the WWE. The Usos that are connected to easily one of the most memorable world champions and memorable managers in the history of the company and in the history of wrestling, period. Them saying this is our younger brother means this man is valid off the rip. He's gold off the rip. He doesn't need to be built up. He's already solidified because he's with us. So him winning gold reinforces that. He's a part of this bloodline. He's a part of this dynasty. So he's a champion. End of sentence. So I think that while I love the way that Carmelo elevated the championship, and I love the matches that he put on, I think that his last match with Carmelo and Ricochet at Worlds Collide was a banger. And if y'all haven't watched that, y'all need to do it. But I think that with that title defense, he proved that he was a main eventer. And so I think that when you're looking at the future of the company, and if I'm Hunter and if I'm Sean and I'm looking at someone who can carry the torch as the guy who can be the face of NXT, I'm looking at Carmelo Hayes. And how do you become the face of NXT is by winning the NXT championship. And I think Braun is already ready for the main roster. I think he has had a good reign, but I think it's getting stale because as a face, you naturally have stale reigns because the value of your championship reign is in when you capture it, where the heel adds prestige to the titles. So Carmelo is going to be the NXT champion. And I think Solo is, he's going to be the North American champion because that's only going to strengthen the bloodline as far as kind of their dominance over WWE. I think that that's going to be the root of Sammy, being turned against. I was about to say turn on, but I was like, hey, yo. But I think that kind of similar to how Damage Control losing the titles at first and then coming back and winning it again was the thing that was going to allow for the best creative flexibility. I think that Solo winning the NXT and North American title is the decision creatively that's going to allow the most flexibility for them. So that's my little rant about the NXT North American Championship. I was going to say, did you have anything else that you wanted to let off about that?
No, it's just she'd be mind blowing me by the end of these shows, and I'm never prepared.
2-0. I'm 2-0. This is back to back, baby. Stop playing with me. Anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of Culture 316. Once again, be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, rate the show, and we'll see y'all cats next week.